Let's check in with Joseph Lindsley in Ukraine.
That's a question that should be asked of Washington. What do you think about Kharkiv? Because everyone here refuses to quit, but it seems a place that's often abandoned in consciousness and in policy and practice. And that's the very reason why I want to be here to share the story of these people.
Joe. Little Joe Lindsley.
Joe Lindsley is quickly becoming an American treasure in broadcasting.
Welcome to Ukraine.
We're hoping to connect with Joseph Lindsley momentarily. He is in Kharkiv, and that has been the scene of an attack today. A Russian drone attack killed rescue workers in Kharkiv. 4 people killed, including 3 rescue workers, 12 more injured, according to reports today. In a post on the Telegram messaging app, the Kharkiv mayor said Iranian-made drones struck a 14-story residential apartment block, destroying several floors and resulting in deaths and multiple casualties. So we hope Joe is okay. We're standing by to make our connection with him, and hopefully we will do that momentarily. Meantime, a reminder about our website, and you can check out all of Joseph's links, and he also posts videos of our conversations here and other video reports from Ukraine. What you do is go to WGNradio.com, and on the Sirott Show page, you can find that. We now have Joseph Lindsley with us. Are you okay, Joe?
Bob, yes, I'm alive and well here in Kharkiv, this great Ukrainian city, just about 30 miles from Russia. I was in Kyiv, the capital, for the past few days where it was calm. And then, I had the early morning train was about, I guess it left at about 6 o'clock this morning. So I just, I woke up and rushed to the train. I didn't read the news. And on the train, you often don't have good signal. It is, as I always describe, it's a time of peace during that 5.5-hour train ride here to Kharkiv. And as I arrived in the city, I began to check the news and look at text messages at midday today. And Kharkiv was hit. The Russians hit Kharkiv city very heavily last night. Really a little bit after midnight, they sent these the Iranian-designed suicide drones. And they did what is now becoming a more and more common tactic, the double tap, where they hit a place and then they wait for the rescue workers to show up and then they hit it again. And so as I'm reading these news, I arrive at the sort of hidden place where I stay here. And, by the way, this city is still, there's traffic, there's people walking in the streets. It's a sunny spring day. The city is full of life. As you drive through the city, you see, the ruins of many old attacks and recent attacks. You see many boarded up windows, but often when there's a boarded up window, it'll say in Ukrainian, "My pracujemo," which means we are working. So it looks like it's closed, but when you see that sign, you know that the pharmacy or the cafe or whatever is still working, as is so much of this city. And I was just getting settled in and unpacking when you hear that sound, that awful sound, and here it comes again. And so I scrambled to the nearest shelter. There was a missile had landed in the city, and actually, moments before, we did have an air raid alarm that sounded, which is unusual. Usually, missile hits before the alarm sounds. And one of the monitoring channels that I follow, right when the alarm was sounding, it said, "Lately we've been having in Kharkiv, quote unquote, invisible missiles during the day. So I may not be able to warn you during the daytime if there are missiles incoming." And as I'm reading that message, that's when I heard the incoming missile that landed. And so I scrambled down to the shelter, the closest shelter nearby, and while trying to figure out what kind of threat was incoming. And it's always inspiring in these crazy, insane moments. There was a nearby cafe, and some young women were having a luncheon for a celebration. And they brought their plates of food, just down the block to the shelter, and they continued in their shelter to have their little celebration. And this spirit of cheerful defiance. And then it turns out it was only that one missile, but at any point, it could happen right now once again. And what people are saying is that the missile that hit today, that it seems that the same type of missile the Russians used yesterday hit another place within the Kharkiv region. And this is something that people, it seems, what the chatter I'm hearing is that it's something new, and it's hard to detect. And this is also the concerning thing with those drone attacks last night. They sent, fleet, like small flocks of drones, each one about 3 to 5 in the sort of flock of drones to the city. And with the reports I've seen that they're coated in some kind of new material. We did talk about this a while ago on the program, but it seems that the Russians are adapting, and these are hard for the radars to pick up and hard to shoot down. And I saw some of the videos of what happened last night, and there was a young firefighter, and he was on the scene with his father, who was 52 years old. His father is a trained medic, and was there. They both were there to help together, and his father was killed. And so there was the firefighter there to help people, and then he was sobbing and crying because he just lost his father while they were trying to help people who had been killed just minutes before in another attack. And this especially when we think of what the Russians are doing with the drones, it is strange, right? That when Ukrainians, when they had that success a few days ago in using their drones to hit a drone producing facility deep within Russia, that the United States would publicly chastise Ukraine. At least that's how people take it here, as a chastisement. But Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State in Paris, he did say that the United States does not condone these attacks. And so what are they supposed to do? And this is the very reason why I'm here in Kharkiv, because whereas Secretary Blinken said yesterday, Kyiv will never come under Russian control. This is impossible. Okay, but will Kharkiv? I think that's a question that should be asked of Washington. What do you think about Kharkiv? Because everyone here refuses to quit, but it seems a place that's often abandoned in consciousness and in policy and practice. And that's the very reason why I want to be here, as scary as it can be, to share the story of these people.
As the Secretary General of NATO said, the Ukrainians are not running out of courage. They are running out of ammunition. And, of course, it's NATO's 75th anniversary now.
I'd miss that, but
that's a pretty good statement, isn't it?
Yeah, that's an excellent way to put it. And that's, I would, encourage anyone who is questioning this, actually to make a visit to a place like Kharkiv, policymakers, because if citizens can do it, if foreign volunteers can do it. I don't think I mentioned yesterday that I ran into 2 women, one from America, one from the UK, who come here to volunteer all the time. They travel all around the country. And they were saying how they never tell their families until they're back in Lviv or they're on the way home. And they have such courage. And if they can do it without fancy resources or armored cars, certainly Western leaders can take a peek and begin to see that this is a place of resilience and a place where you can actually see that victory is possible. Even as every time you look at the sky, you wonder what's coming next. But then you look at the people around you and you smile and you get energy.
The money that may come from NATO for Ukraine, some people have said too little, too late. What do you think?
Well, I think Ukrainians have held on in an incredible way. So it's never too late as long as there's a chance to turn things around. I mean, when I do talk, I was speaking with people yesterday who have good knowledge of what's happening at the front. And by the way, they're reducing the draft age. It goes from 27 to 25 now. And it's very difficult and bleak there. But if more ammunition can arrive, if long-range weapons can arrive, this can be turned around. And, it's important to remember that what the increased Russian attacks we're seeing now in places like Kharkiv and Sumy nearby here, that didn't happen all of last fall. The Ukrainians had opened a window of opportunity, and because they had the tools. And so if those tools arrive, the next batch arrives, I think there is a lot of optimism of what can be done. And so this is the case that has to be made. But unfortunately, when you listen to the rhetoric, especially from Washington, I think you see Europeans waking up, out except for Berlin. But otherwise, you see Europeans waking up. But the rhetoric in Washington is focused on Kyiv. And what Anthony Blinken says is really no different from what Elon Musk says in many ways. And so I think Americans need to really analyze what side they're on and which voices in America might be saying that the position about Ukraine that they actually agree on, and that looks like victory could be possible.
We'll keep hoping for that. Joseph Lindsley in Kharkiv. Thank you, Joe. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Bob, until tomorrow. Tomorrow, if we, I saw you guys have an eclipse coming your way. I'll tell you my eclipse story from a few years ago, but I encourage people to go see it if you're in Chicago. I can tell you about that tomorrow.
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Що він сказав?
Well, which side are you on?
На чиїй ти стороні?
Come on now. Oh, which side are you on?
На чиїй ти стороні?
Єбать.